history of how the Bible God created the first man Adam from out of the dust of earth, and how God created the first woman Eve from the rib of Adam. History of how the Bible God created the first man Adam from out of the dust of earth, and the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. Genesis 2:7. The God of the Bible, Jehovah, Yahweh, wrote the first book of the Bible, Genesis, with his own hands and handed it to Moses. In this book alone, the true history of how God created everything, including man and woman. Muhammad had stolen the contents of the book of Genesis and falsified it in his false Quran. An important character of the devil is that he is a shameless liar. He is a thief also. John 10:10. One of the important characteristics of the devil is that he is not only a liar but also a thief. Genesis 2:7 and 8. How God created Adam. Let's read that. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. The Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. So this is the way God created Adam and placed him in Eden garden. The word Eden garden is not there in the Quran. From the rib bone of Adam, God created the first woman Eve and gave her to Adam. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Genesis 2:22. Eve's name is found in the Bible, but is not found in the Quran. He has not stolen that. The Quran is devoid of the names of women, except the name of the mother of Jesus. Adam named Eve woman. That's the first time he did it. This is now my bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Initially, he gave her the name woman, subsequently Eve. We will see that also. Genesis 2:21 to 23. This is how God created the woman. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. First surgery, God did it in Eden garden. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, he made it into a woman and brought her to the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. He knew she was made from his rib, and he immediately took ownership. After Adam and Eve fell due to sin and received the curses from God, Adam named his wife Eve, and Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. Eve means mother of all living. This is after the fall. Genesis 3:20. Genesis 3:20. Let us read again certain portions so that we understand it clearly. And Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. Eve means mother of all living. He gave. God didn't give. Adam gave this name. The history of how the first woman Eve was created, a treasure that is found only in the Bible. The Quran does not have this history. Muhammad had not copied this from the Bible. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Let's read from Genesis 2:18 onwards. From Genesis, one good reading, a continuous reading. Because about Adam and Eve, God has written only in Genesis 2 and 3. That's all. But in the Quran, you will find it in Surah 2, Surah 3, Surah 7 to Surah 20, like that. In many surahs is written about Adam. And again, repeatedly the same verses he has written. This is the difference between the truth and lie. Genesis 2:18. And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. Wife is a helper comparable to him. The best gift God gives a man is his wife. Many of us, we do not understand this, but this is it. Out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that was its name. So Adam gave names to all cattle, to the birds of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper comparable to him. Adam didn't have a helper, a companion. And the Lord God caused a deep slumber to fall on Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And what the Quran says, what the false Quran and the false prophet Muhammad say, if God wanted, if Allah wanted to create anything, he would say be. What is there be? Here, God created Eve not out of simply saying be. He took the rib bone and made the rib bone into woman. So, Quran is 100% a lie, a cheat. You have been cheated. Genesis 2:23. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of me. He has taken ownership.